So in the last class, we finished with interfaces. Okay, good. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about sObjects, and we'll also talk about exceptions. So anyone aware of exceptions? What are exceptions?
Is it try catch?
Yeah, so what does that mean, try catch?
So when you perform an action, it tries first. If there is an error, then normally if we don't use this try catch, then the error will break your page, or whatever the code is, it will break everything. Else if
Okay.
we use try or catch, it will catch the error and it will display the error message.
Okay.
But the program will run.
Okay. Okay. Good. So first thing we're going to talk about is sObject. So what is an sObject? sObject is nothing but any object in Salesforce. We also call it as sObjects. Okay, they also call it, it's a short form. Any object that you store in the force.com platform database, we call it as the sObjects. Okay, so it is basically like a generic data type. Like we have integer to store integers, we have string to store string. The sObject is basically, it's a generic data type, which you can put anything in that sObject. Okay, so if you want to put an account object, you can do that. If you want to put a position object, you can do that. So it's basically, it's like a bigger object in which you can put anything. It's like a big cup which can be anything. So if I wanted to say sObject um, S is equals to new of position object, I can do that. Okay, let's say this is a custom object, I can do it. Okay, so any object you can put it as sObject. You can consider it as an sObject. For example, what I did was today, I downloaded an app called Warehouse app, in which I have some merchandise invoices. These are the two different custom objects that belong to this. And I also have a recruiting app. And in the recruiting app, I have these different custom objects. Okay, so so far what we have seen is we were able to add the or insert the records using these using like entering through this UI, right? You basically go ahead and enter the records through here and all that kind of stuff. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and see if, let's say, you have this merchandise or warehousing application. Let's say instead of inserting the records through this UI, we can do it through this Apex as well. So those we can do through the queries. Okay, the sObject queries or SOQL or SOSL. So the different kinds of insert query we can do, and we'll also talk about that as well. So for example, right now I have this merchandise object. Okay, I can go ahead and add a merchandise name. Let's say eraser. Okay, the price is $2 and the quantity is 10. Okay, so this is, all of these are the required elements. Okay, now, so this is, I have added a merchandise element. I can do the same thing using my query. Okay, so what you can do here is you can go back to your developer console. Okay, and you can say file new and debug open. Okay, so you can say something like anything can be an sObject. So if I wanted to say sObject S is equals to new of merchandise. Okay, this is my object merchandise underscore 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 C. So usually we always use this other one merchant like this. Now we have to use the API name. Okay, so there is an API name. What do you mean by API name? So you go up here. This is called as the API name. Okay, anytime you are coding, you're supposed to use this name. Okay, now let's say I wanted to add something around using this. I wanted to create an object, and using this price and quantity, these are the two required fields I need to provide, and the name. So if I wanted to insert something, I can always go ahead and create an object here, and you can say something like this. You can create an object. So if you go back here, And you also need to use the API names for price as well as quantity. So anytime we are coding, instead of using these names, we need to use these names. This is for the user visibility and for the user purpose. But this is basically when we are using the coding or the Apex, then we need to do it through this one. So let's say I wanted to insert a merchandise object using the query. So how will I going to do? I'm going to go back to my developer console and I'm going to say merchandise, get the API name of the object, which is this. MER is equals to new of merchandise elements, and then you need to provide all the required fields. So there are 3 different required fields here. One is the name. So I'm going to go ahead and provide name is equals to and you can say as sharpener, comma, then you have price underscore underscore C, let's say is $15, and then you have quantity underscore underscore C is equals to 12. Okay. Now guys, this is just what I'm doing here. I'm not inserting anything. I am just creating an object of the merchandise. Okay, this is what I'm kind of, this is a very similar syntax. Remember what's getting called here. These are nothing but the constructor, right? These are the constructor variables. Remember we talked about constructors? What we are trying to do here is you can assume there is a constructor in this class, okay, which takes 3 parameters, name, price, and quantity, and you're passing the values of those and you're constructing an object, right? You're not doing anything. So now if I go ahead and execute this one, and if you come back to your merchandise item, you will not see that record got added. See, there is no record got added. This was only eraser was there, which was already there, but you did not see the sharpener one, because why we just created an object. We have not inserted that object in the Salesforce database. Are you getting my point? We have not inserted it. We have just created the instance. So if I wanted to insert something in the Salesforce, so what I'm going to do here is I will go back here and I'm going to say, if I go back here, debug, and I'm going to say insert. Now I'm going to say insert. And once you say insert and what object you want to insert it, you can go ahead and say I wanted to insert this object. So in this case, this time that object will get inserted. Okay, this time the object will get inserted. So now if you come back here and if you refresh it, now you will see the sharpener got added. Okay, so far we have seen how to insert. These are nothing but sObjects. Okay, any object that you have created, you can put it into an sObject type. That is nothing but it's like the bigger bucket which can have anything in it. So far we have talked about data types like integer, which only takes integer. We've talked about string, which only takes string. But in this one, this is a kind of something called as the generic data type, in which you can put any kind of object. Okay, so here what we did was we constructed an merchandise item. Okay, just by construction means we instantiated the object. What do you mean by instantiated? We just provided the we just created, like using the constructor of merchandise, we kind of created a record, but that record was not inserted into the Salesforce until or unless we say insert. Does that make sense, guys? What did I just do?
Where did you use sObject here?
So sObject, that was just to tell you you can put anything in the sObject. So here, remember, that was just one data type. So you can say, if you want to say something like this. This is just to tell you that, okay, in the sObject, you can put an object of any type. Okay, you can put object of any type. So if I go back here and I say okay, and Sorry. Okay, so now you were able to, you can put anything in that S object, and now what we can do here is, let me see what happened. We didn't create anything because we have not inserted that anything, but this was a valid syntax. You can put any type of object in the S object. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Any type of object in this S object. So if I go back here and if you refresh it, you will see that object got added. That is what the S object is. So if, let's say, did you get it? So let's say,
I got it.
yeah.
But functionality of object and the first method you did and the second method you did is the same one. So it's just inserting the record in the object, right?
So what I'm doing is that the first one and second one, see, this was the type of the reference variable was of the same type as the object, right? So you have created the object here, merchandise object, and you're putting into a reference variable of the merchandise, which is the same type. Okay, this is also a one way of inserting a record. Now, but you need to use insert S to record that, to insert that record. This is just creating the instance. This line is actually inserting it into the Salesforce. The another way is, I said you can put sObject is one of the type in Salesforce, You can put any kind of object, merchandise, position, invoice, any kind of object into this sObject. That's what I told you. But still you need to use insert statement to insert this object. So here the reference variable is not of type merchandise. It is a more generic type where you can put anything in it. Are you getting my point?
Yes. My question is that how would we know that we should use sObject in this particular case?
No, you can use whichever is okay. See here, I can go ahead and say it does not have, okay, this is not like a good choice, but this is one of the choice that you can put any kind of object into an sObject. You can use one of these approaches. You can either use the reference type as the same as of this type, or you can use anything into sObjects. You can do whichever. This is not the right way or the wrong way. This is just one of the ways to insert an object. The whole point here, Ravi, is to show you that you're constructing an object of a merchandise type, but sObject is so generic that it can have an object of any type inside of it. That's what the whole purpose is.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, this is not a question of which one to use when. This is a question basically telling you that any kind of object can be inserted into a reference variable of type sObject.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, and here another thing, guys, this values need to be provided. What do you mean by that? So if I don't provide the name or the price, these are the mandatory fields while inserting an object. Okay, while inserting for the merchandise, these are the required fields there. So if you try to insert an object without providing the mandatory ones, let me go back here. So here, if you go back and you try to create an object of merchandise without providing the price and the quantity, and you're trying to insert this object and you're only giving, see, now it's giving you an exception. Okay, and the reason it says is there's a required field that you are missing. The required field is price, and you're not providing the required fields. So whenever you are trying to create you're trying to insert a record or using the coding, then you need to also take care of all the required fields. You need to provide the values for all the required fields. Yes, Abhinav, I am recording the session, and thank you for the reminder. Okay, so you can go ahead and you need to make sure that, okay, all the required fields should be provided. So if I go back here to the invoice, let's say there is another custom object that I have, and in this custom object, it only there's one status and there's owner. These are the different fields that are there. None of the fields is mandatory, but in the case of merchandise, you can see that these fields are a mandatory field, okay, and if you don't provide the value for these fields, then you will not be able to create that record in the Salesforce. So you always need to provide the values. So if I go back here, last time I didn't provide the quantity and I didn't provide the price, so now this time I need to go ahead and give the price as well as the name. And then you're trying to insert that record, and now if I go back to my Salesforce, clothes. So this particular record has been inserted. If you don't use the insert statement, the record will get instantiated, the object will be instantiated, but it won't get inserted. So this is one of the SOQL query. Now what is this standard object? This is called as the Salesforce object query language, SOQL. Okay, it is very similar to writing an SQL. Have you ever done SQL before? Structured query languages? Okay. Ravi, have you done the SOQL before? Like queries before? Okay. So basically there are different kinds of SOQL statements. So first of all, we can differentiate between these two. Any question on what is sObject? sObject is nothing but it's a generic type in which you can put any kind of Salesforce object into it. That's what the sObject is for. Next thing is we're going to talk about the queries, SOQL. And there is another one which is also called as SOSL. Okay, SOQL stands for Salesforce Object Query Language. Okay, this stands for Object Query Language. And what is SOSL? SOSL stands for Object Search Language. Okay, so SOQL is Salesforce Object Query Language, and SOSL is Salesforce Object Search Language. What is the purpose of this SOQL? This is basically used to insert records into the database or to find something in the database for the data retrieval, or if you wanted to retrieve one object or the related object. So let's say in our case, let's say there's a relationship between positions and job applications. Then what the purpose of the SOQL? It will try to retrieve those objects and the related objects. Whereas the SOSL is a simple language for searching across all the objects simultaneously. So let's say if I wanted to find pencil record in any, it can be in anywhere, it can be in candidates, or it can be any of the objects, then you will use SOSL. So the SOSL is a language for searching across multiple persisted objects simultaneously. Okay, so this is what the difference is. SOQL is basically to search or to query any of the objects. SOSL is basically if you want to search, find eraser records. That's what you're going to do in SOSL, find eraser records. So what it is going to do is it's going to go ahead and loop through all of these elements and find, okay, is there anything which has a sharpener in it or eraser in it? So it's going to go ahead and return you those records. We'll see an example of each of these. So the first thing is, let's say if I wanted to query something, let's say if I wanted to see, there are different kinds of structured. So in the SOQL, which is Salesforce Object Query Language, there is a select statement. Now what does this select statement do? SOQL query is basically included in the square brackets. Okay, these are called as the square bracket, and it will retrieve you either an object from the database. So select, let's say if I wanted to query something like, give me a record which name of the merchandise item is eraser. How will I do? I will say select, okay, select, And let me go ahead and see. SOQL. In this, let's say if I wanted to find, select the if I wanted to find, give me the record where the merchandise name is eraser. So how will I write that? I will say, give me the name and the ID from which object. You have to specify which object. Here I will say from the merchandise object. Okay, where the name is equals to, let's say I wanted to find eraser. So what it is doing, so this SOQL, you're basically telling from which object you want. Okay, that's what we are going to do. And in the SOSL, you can provide n. You're not aware of in which object it can be. It can be merchandise, it can be invoice, it can be different. But here you're specifying in from which object I wanted to find the eraser element. I'm telling you to look for an eraser name in the merchandise object, not anywhere else, but in the merchandise. So in the SOQL, you write it in the square brackets. You use with the select. Okay. You use the select statement here in the SOQL, so Salesforce Object Query Language. I'm not talking about SOSL right now. I'm talking about SOQL. In SOQL, they are both the ways of querying the database. They're both the ways of searching an item in the database. One way is using SOQL. The other way is using SOSL. In the SOQL, you write the query inside of the square brackets and you use the select statement, and you know from which object you are searching here. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking for a name of the merchandise item to be eraser inside of the merchandise. So what I'm doing, give me the ID and the name. So if there is a record available with the name of eraser, then give me the record name and the record ID. Okay, these two things. So now, right now in my merchandise, there is a record where the name is eraser. Okay, so now if I wanted to write this query, what will I do? I will say, I can, whatever that gets returned, I can put that record in the S object. S is equals to select the ID, comma name from merchandise underscore underscore C, where name is equals to eraser. If there is a record, it will give you back that record and it will put it inside of this. If there is a record, what will it do? It will go ahead and put it in the S object. Okay. And if you wanted to display, so we can do system.debug the ID of the merchandise element is plus S dot of, S dot of ID. So now it will first, what will this query do? It is looking for a merchandise item where the name is eraser, and it is fetching that record, and it only gives you back the ID column and the name column. It does not giving you price or anything. And then you're doing and then you're displaying whatever the ID that got returned where the name is eraser. So let's go ahead and execute this one. So see, it returned you the merchandise and the ID is this. And if you want to verify it, you can go to the eraser object and that ID should match what you returned here. Okay, now since you're accessing outside of the Salesforce, that's why there are extra characters. This is an 18 digit, this is 15 digits. Okay, so this is the same ID A036J81. That's the same ID here, but the extra A3 characters are basically using, these is 18 digits unique ID from outside of the Salesforce. So otherwise the ID is same. So what we did here, guys, this is a way to search the element inside of the Salesforce. And what we did here is return me the ID name from merchandise item where the name is eraser. Okay, and it returned you an object or a record because there was a field with the name eraser. If there was nothing, let's say if I'm looking for something which has, there is no record with the name of eraser available, what will happen now? So if I go ahead and execute it, it's going to say that there's an exception. There's no rows that returned here. Nothing got returned because there is no record with the name of this one. Are you following? Okay, so this is one of the way of retrieving the record from the Salesforce. So in this is going to return either an sObject type or the related objects as well. Okay, so let's say if I wanted to get the price also. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say give me the price underscore underscore C, give me the price, and if I want to display it, you can always display it by using something like this. Price of the merchandise item is, and what I'm going to say s dot up. So s is what? Is the whole object. In that object you have ID, you have name, and you're now returning price as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and now I'm going to call this and I'm going to ask for price. So what it will give me? It will first, this query is going to return me the merchandise whole record, the whole record, and I'm putting it into the s object. Okay, the whole record I'm putting into s object, and then I'm displaying the ID of the object, name I already know, and the price. So now if I go ahead and execute, field expression not allowed for, why this didn't work? Don't you have an ID with that particular? Okay, field expression not for. Let me just put it this way then. Okay. So here the merchandise, the price is $2. Where did it got it from? It got it from the merchandise object. See, the reason it didn't allow the price, guys, see, this S object is a very generic one. ID is, see, it was able to fetch the ID because ID is going to be there for every object, right? So that was that column available. Merchandise, in the merchandise only, there is a column called price. That's why it worked for merchandise and it didn't work for S object, because price might not be one of the instance variable in the S object. Are you getting my point? See, it is nothing but it will be kind of a class where merchandise, what you did was, this is a merchandise class and it has instance variables like integer to store the price, right? Then you have the string to store the name of the merchandise item, and then there was an integer to store the quantity, right? Something like this. And then in that class you might have a constructor which takes these three parameters and all that kind of stuff. But if you were using an S object might not have those fields defined, because those are the fields which only belong to merchandise. But S object is very generic. So it does not have all the fields of all the different objects, which is not possible. So you were not able to do S dot of price, but you were able to do merchandise dot of price, because this price variable or instance variable is available in this object, but this field is not available here. Does that make sense?
But it's storing in S, right? So whatever the Dml statement you are doing, that ID, name, price, storing in S. So
what is the type of S? What is, okay, so, Ravi, you need to understand the type, the reference variable type. In that case, it was S object, which is a very generic one. But in this case, it is of merchandise, which basically the type matters, not the S. What is the type of this S? What is the type of the reference variable? That is what it is. If the TV is of Samsung type, you're going to have a remote of Samsung type. Similarly, that's what you're trying to do here is you got a merchandise record. Okay, and if I try to put it in the invoice, it's not allowed. Because the type of that record that returns is of merchandise type. Okay, and you're putting into a variable which is of invoice type. So it's something like,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will that store temporarily, like whatever the Dml statement you're using, you have to select ID and name price. Will that store in sObject temporarily or permanently throughout the program?
Throughout this program, throughout the scope of. So if you have, let's say, 5 more lines after this, so this whole record went into this S. And then you can display the ID, the price, the quantity of that S from the sObject. So the whole row is available in S right now. Okay, and now you're trying to fetch each record column of that one by one.
Okay, so if we use the sObject in 4th line again, we'll write an sObject with a select statement.
Okay, let's just do that. So now let's go back here, and because see, this is not allowed. Okay, if you try to run it, it's going to give you an error. Okay, illegal assignment from merchandise to invoice. So because the type matters.
Object just ID.
Now come what? Okay, what do you want, Ravi?
sObject S is equal to select ID.
Okay, sObject. Okay, and
S is
then
equal to select ID name. Okay.
Should I just get rid of name and price?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And I want the same statement in the 4th line as well.
Like this one?
Comment out the 3rd line. It won't work, I guess.
Yeah, this is not going to work. Very good.
Now just where clause the name is equal to eraser or make it as pencil.
I think pencil is not there. You want me to put something which is there? Okay, so let's say clothes. Let's see if they have. So in this case, what's going to happen is, so initially this S, so see the program always executes top to bottom. Okay, so first this sObject S was holding the record where the name is eraser. Okay. Then what you did is you reinitialized this S with the record with now clothes is there. So now the value will be replaced with this value of the record. So this record will go into the S. So now if you try to get the IDs, you're going to get 2 different IDs. One is for the clothes and one is for the eraser one.
Will that throw an error like we have given this same name for the sObject?
See, here you have to do this one. This will work. No, this is not going to give you an error. This will work because you've already declared sObject. S is of type sObject. And now you're using the sObject here again. But now what you're doing is you're replacing that row with this row now.
Okay. 1 second. Just let's do one thing. Just write sObject and write
S2
A there. Instead of S.
That will work. So see, this is okay, don't get it confused because it's sObject. May think like it's an integer type. So whatever you can do with integer, you could do the same exact thing with sObjects. Any other, consider it as a type, okay? So let's say if I put it something like this here, and let's say I make it as A, and then I display A dot of ID, this is fine too. Okay. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
See Ravi, it's same thing like you created a variable called integer A. Right now integer A has value of 12. Okay. Then you went ahead and displayed the value of A. Okay. Now you're saying integer C is equals to 40. Okay. And now you're displaying the value of C. That's exactly what you're going to get it here also. And now you're displaying the value of C. That's it. This is what we did here also. So we created the type is sObject. So what are you expecting the value now, Ravi? What do you think should be the output of the program?
I think S.id will get the ID of eraser and A.id will get the ID of clothes.
Exactly. That's going to be the output. So if I go ahead and execute, So they're going to give you two different IDs. One will be the ID of the, as you said, the eraser one, and the other one is the clothes one. Okay?
Okay.
Does it make sense? Now if I go back and if instead of this one, if I just say S, now first the S was having the value of the ID of eraser. Now the S will have the ID of clothes. So if I go ahead and execute, it's going to give you the same exact output, but the variable that got created was only one. First it had the other value, now it has the other value, new value. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Priyanka and Abhinav. Are you following?
Deepika, Abhinav got disconnected. He just called me. It's not connecting.
Okay. Do you want me to wait for him for a couple minutes? Or should I continue?
No, just try that link again.
Are you talking to him?
Oh no. Yeah. Deepika, just continue.
Okay. So now the next thing is, so we have this one. So we created this as objects. Now let's say, guys, you instead of putting this whole thing here, like you can put this value in a string and you can use that variable here. So what I mean is, for example, you wanted to do something like string my name is equals to eraser. Okay. You have something like my name is equals to eraser. This is the variable that I've created. And this is your merchandise item __ C. And now this time you're creating a list. Okay, see, there might be multiple eraser records, right? There might be one or two eraser records. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a select statement, select ID from the merchandise object, where the name, now in this case I can use something like this. So this value will get replaced here. So there's another way of, see, instead of what is the purpose of this, guys? See, let's say tomorrow you want to search for pencils. So then if there was 4 more queries written here, let's say the similar queries was written, and instead of my name you had like eraser, then you need to go ahead and change at 4 different places to pencils, right? Here also, here also, here also. But putting the main thing in a variable, then if you wanted to change it to pencil, you just change it this place, and then automatically all the queries will have the new value. So this is kind of like more high. It does not need that maintenance. It's easy to maintain. The code is easy to maintain because you change at one place, automatically the new query will be created. But if you're hard coding the value here in each of the query, then if you wanted to do another query, then you need to go ahead and change that thing to another one in all the places. So this is a better approach of using this variable, and here you can say for eraser. So now what I'm doing is, this is another way of writing the query, and this is the more maintainable way, and you should prefer using this one because this is basically next time if you wanted to have something else, you just need to change at one place instead of changing at all the places. Okay. So here, this is also going to give you the same exact output. Okay. Now if I wanted to do, so merchandise __ C would be there, and it's going to give you that there is an array, and this is MS became the array now. Okay, so now what you can do here is you can say system.debug, the ID is, it's the list, right? So now you have to say merchandise _C, okay, and then you're going to say of 0 dot of ID, okay, and then execute. Oh, MS, sorry. Okay, so this is another way of writing the query. So what I did is, so there might be multiple rows with the value of eraser, right? There might be multiple records with the value of eraser. What you're saying is, okay, give me only the first record. There might be, let's say, 2 records retrieved. So give me the value of the first one. So you're going to go, you're saying ms of 0 dot of id. So it is going to give you the id of the first one. Okay, are you getting my point? Now, let's say there was another merchandise record. Let's say I go ahead here and I create another one. Let's say I create eraser, another eraser, and this time the price is $20, the quantity is 100. Go ahead and hit the save. Now, how many records got retrieved? So now if I wanted to know how many records got retrieved, what was the way to find the size of the list, guys? I told you earlier, what is the way to find the size? So I'm going to say, exactly. So I'm going to say system.debug, the size of the list. How many items are there? Total number of merchandise item with the name eraser. How many? You can see it by plus of ms dot of size. So there is a method available in the list which calculates the size. So it will, this time it's going to give you 2. See, eraser 2. Now if I go ahead and add another item here, okay, and of eraser type 2, and I say it 15, then this is 200. So how many will be the answer now if I run this query one more time? Now if I go ahead and execute, the answer is going to be 3. Okay, now let's say if I wanted to go ahead and display the price of each of the merchandise item where the name is eraser, how will I do it, Priyanka? If I want to display the name of each of the elements from the merchandise list, how will I display? And I want to display the price. Ravi.
Can you just repeat the question?
My question is, see now this, what this query is returning?
It's returning ID where name is equal to eraser.
So what will be the output? What is inside of MS? What is inside of MS?
Just the ID of the three IDs.
Very good.
List of 3.
Very good, very good. So it's going to give you list of 3 IDs. Let's say I want price as well. So what will I do? I'll put it as price, right? Now it is giving me the ID, price of all these 3 eraser, right?
Yes.
So now if I want to display it, the price and ID, let's say I want to display the quantity as well of each of the elements, how will I display?
Just plus ms.
Plus ms?
Yes, in the system debug.
So you're saying if I do system.debug and I say items are and I say plus ms, this?
Yeah.
So you,
what will, list.
Let's see what does it return. It's going to go ahead and return all the 3 by doing the ms. But let's say I wanted to go ahead and display in a different way. Like I want to display the price is this, item is this, price is this, item is this, something like that. How will I do that? You know what I'm saying?
I think it.
Okay, so let's say right now you get the whole list once, right? Let's say I want to display system.debug first item is, okay, and then it gives me the first item details, and then the second item details, and then the third item details.
The index.
But then,
0, 1,
but then, don't you think that's a bad approach? Because the bad approach is, let's say there are 8 items. Are you going to do MSG of 0.id, MS of 1.id, MS of 2.id, MS of 3? That's, don't you think is a bad? Remember, guys, we did loops. Didn't we do loops?
Okay. If size is greater than if an loop
something like this. For integer, very good. We can do one of that, or we can also have. Remember, we did the enhanced loop. We said merchandise underscore underscore C. We call it as C, and then it goes through the list of MS, right? And then we say system.debug, the name of the item, not the ID. Let's say ID of the merchandise item, like this. See, this thing you're going to use it hundreds of times in your code, going through the loop and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so you need to remember. So C.of_ID, this is going to give you. Then I want to display, let's say, the price. You're going to say the price here, price underscore underscore C. And now, can you explain me how this loop is working? And then the next thing is going to be the quantity. So we're going to go ahead. So first time what will happen? This C will have the first row, right? The 3 rows are getting returned. Right? What the query is going to give you 3 different rows. So ID and then quantity and the name. Sorry, ID, quantity, and price, right? So first thing, the name is going to be eraser in all 3. Quantity would be 1, 2, and 3. There are 3 rows going to return. So first time the C will point to first row. Second time it will point to this row, and the third time it's going to point to this row. And then what it is going to display? It's going to display the ID, price, and quantity. So now if I go ahead and execute this one, see, it's going to give you ID of the merchandise. ID of the first is 2, then 10. Then second ID, then the price and the quantity, price and the quantity. Did you get it? Priyanka? This is the way. Okay, if you want to display the elements, this is the way. So there are different ways. Either you can create another loop. This is one of the fastest and the easiest loop. That's why I use this loop. Okay, and this is a better way of storing the variable and then using that variable in the query, because next it's more maintainable. You can easily maintain. If something changes, you don't have to change it 5 different places. You can just change it in the variable value to something else. Okay, so now if I wanted to show you the clothes one, then it's going to give you, if I wanted to go ahead and show the clothes, then what's going to happen is, it's going to give you only 1 record, and there will be only 1 record will be returned. Okay, that will be for this one. Okay, got it? Okay, next thing that we have, guys, is, let's say if I go up here and if you go this one, now another type of query we have is SOSL. Okay, what is SOSL? SOSL basically, I told you, is a Salesforce object search language. Okay, so the query is going to give you the same results, but the writing style is different and the way it executes is also different. So SOSL statements evaluate to a list of objects where each list contain the results for a particular sObject type. So let's say if I wanted to go ahead and do the same exact thing. So let's say what I wanted to do here is, list of list, okay, and this is of sObject type. Find, let's say I wanted to find eraser, or let's just do close star in all fields. It's more user friendly. Fields returning so from merchandise, return me the ID comma name. Okay, look in all these items. Okay, and then also look in the invoice underscore underscore C object. Okay, so there are two objects I want you to look at. Let me see. Merchandise underscore underscore C list. So what I'm doing here, guys, can you tell me? So list of sObjects. Okay, so it's a list of, basically it's a two-dimensional. Search list, find clothes in all the fields returning merchandise. Okay, you go ahead and then from the invoice as well. And then I'm putting that object in the model in this particular list. Okay, and now what I can do here is oh yeah.
In the debug statement, plus.
This is there. Oh yeah. Thank you. The size of the list is 1. So what I did here is, let me go back and explain you. Instead of doing this, guys, let me just okay, so what it is doing, I'm telling find the clothes. Okay, there's a thing called clothes in all fields returning merchandise underscore C. So basically look for this particular item in this object as well as in this object. Okay, and if it is there, then what I'm doing is I'm putting whatever the list I got, search list of 0, okay, put it into this particular one and then go ahead and debug it. And I'm displaying the size of this one. So let's say there was an invoice item in the other one as well. So basically, let's say instead of, let me just create, because I don't have the lot of fields in the invoice. I just downloaded it from somewhere and it does not have all the fields. So what I can do is let me go ahead and see if this works. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but let's just see. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and create name. Let me go ahead and add a field. Let's just see. Let's just see if this works. ahead and add new eraser. So let's say quotes. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and go to the view objects. Just bear with me. I'm also testing this thing if this is gonna work. Instead of this, I'm gonna say here and okay, good. So let's just do one more time. Let me just test it again. Okay, this worked, and let's just add another one here. Close. Go ahead and hit the save button, and let's go ahead and execute this one more time. Now can you explain what's going on? Okay, good. So what did I do here is this, so the main difference here is in the writing, and it's going to give you a different output. So what I've been doing here is we are finding this clothes string in all fields, okay, in all fields of the merchandise object and from the candidate. So it's looking for the clothes record. Either it can be in first name, either it can be name. In the merchandise, it's going to go ahead and return you the ID and name, okay. And then you can, and then for the candidate, it's going to go ahead and look in the all the different fields of the candidate object and look for clothes value. So first what I did was I add in the candidate, I have 3 records in which 2 of the I have 3 records which has clothes in it, okay, but one is in the first name field and the other 2 is in the first name field and 1 is in the class name field. So what I did was it gave me the list of all the records which have clothes in them. So there are 2 unique lists. There are 2 unique lists from the candidate, and there is 1 record in the merchandise which has clothes in it, and there's only 1 record. Are you following what's happening? So what it did is the first part, the search, so it gave you a list of lists. So the first list contains the number of records from merchandise, and the second list contains the number of records from the candidates. So and in the merchandise list too, this is going to give you the list from the candidate object, and this is the list from the merchandise object. So it's looking for so if you had written the same query in the SOQL, how would you have done it? You would have done select ID comma name from merchandise, and then you would have written another one, select ID comma star from the close. What this is doing is basically testing that record, the value of that record in all the different objects that you mentioned here, in the merchandise and in the clothes. Now if I go back here and if I delete those which have clothes in it, what I can do is I'll go back here. Oh, I don't have access to be deleted or what? Yeah, I can delete it. If I go ahead and delete these, then the size is going to be 0. So if I go back here, so basically this query is looking for clothes value in the candidate object and in the merchandise object, and it is giving you the list of those records which have clothes in them, and then I'm displaying the size of those lists. So how many items are there with the name of clothes in it? There's only one item available in merchandise, and there is, if I go ahead and change this to eraser, let's say what happens. If I go ahead and, what is a star means? It can be any wild character, so it can be eraser 1, eraser 2, eraser whatever can be there, but they should have eraser in it. Okay, so in this case there is no eraser record in the candidate, so the size is going to be 0 here, but there are 3 records in the case of the merchandise, but it might give you 1 because the 3 are only in the case of, so let's go ahead and see what's the output here. See, here the size of the list is 3 because there are 3 records with the name of eraser in it, and there is no with the name of the eraser in the candidate. So if you wanted to see it, what you can do is you can go back here and you can add a candidate with the name of eraser. So if I go back here, eraser, go ahead and hit the save button. Let me just refresh it and then go back here and then go ahead. So it's going to be, if it's basically searching across the different objects. So now this time it's going to give you 3 and 1. Why does it still give you 3 and 0? Let me see.
And why it's not searching its first name?
It should. Let me see. That's what I'm saying. Why should it should have done it? 1. Yeah, I think it just didn't got refreshed. It was searching. See, that's why it gave you 2. See, yeah, it didn't. It just didn't. Took me. I think it takes some time to insert it, but it should. So now it was in the. If you see, there are 2 eraser records. If I go back here, and it gives you 2 here. So eraser. So there's 1 here and there's 1 here. Okay, that's why it returned you 2. Got it?
Yes.
Okay.
So when doing SOSL query,
yeah,
you need to mention all the objects, right?
in the SOSL, in the search one, right?
Yes.
So in whichever objects you want to search for.
Okay. So if I want to search all the objects, then I have to mention all the objects?
Yeah.
If there are hundreds of objects, then
I don't think so. There is a way to, like, all objects or something. There's nothing like all objects that you want. You have to mention that object name. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, next one, guys, we are talking about the next thing that we have is the, Priyanka, do you have any questions?
Hey, Deepika, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In SOSL.
In SOSL,
see, we have 2 objects, and 2 objects have some relations like master detail or lookup relation, whatever it is. So how can we fetch like getting the same, like how can we relate that in this query?
Okay, so let's say you can do that using the dot notation. So for example, you have you're trying to retrieve a position object, okay, and position object has a relationship with job application. Okay, so you can say something like the position object, let's say position dot of job application. Remember we did those related fields and where we can go from one
Yes.
object to the other object to the, that was called cross object formula fields. I think
Yes.
maybe, so that's, so you can do that through using the dot notation. So here we are trying to access the field name. You can do something like, the object A, let's say sObject, whatever the sObject is, let's say position underscore underscore C. Okay, and this is the parent object, let's see, is equals to, you can say that with the object A dot of relationship. So if you wanted to fetch the parent object, you can say, if you want to fetch the job application, you can do position underscore underscore C dot of that other position that you have, which is the job application underscore underscore D, and then you can fetch that field. So you can use the same, the related field value here if you wanted to access the related list objects. So you can use the dot notation to access that. I will show you an example, I think, later because I don't have it right now. I need to create a relationship first and then show you that.
One second. Actually, exactly what was my question is, see, suppose, okay, I'm accessing opportunity. Okay, opportunity has a relation with account or something other object. Now opportunity ID. Okay, opportunity ID, and normally when you write in DML statement, you write ID is equal to some quote ID or opportunity ID, whatever it is. Okay, let's suppose it's an quote ID. The, what do we call, the parameters what we have in the URL, right? And the second DML statement will be the DML statement will be for the account which is related to the opportunity. For that, what we'll write, like where clause where ID is equal to, how we'll get that link?
Okay, can you go ahead and repeat the question one more time? I didn't get it. So you have an opportunity object.
Okay, I have an opportunity object, and it has some relation with account object. Okay. Now, now I'm writing in DML query that whatever is select star from select ID name from opportunity where ID is equals to quote ID. That's the parameters I'm getting from the URL, and that ID will relate to opportunity ID. Is that okay?
So you are giving the opportunity ID as the parameter, and with the opportunity ID you need the account name.
Yes. From the see, the second statement would be same, the DML statement select select ID.
Wait, don't put the DML statement, just give what you want. Do you want the IDs, do you want the account name for an opportunity ID? What do you want? Like, give me like in a layman's term, what do you need? Do you need all the account records for the opportunity ID?
No, see, I want to do some changes. Okay, let's suppose I want to do some changes in opportunity object. Let's suppose we have three fields. I just want to make it clear, like null. Okay, I'll do it, and I want to do the same clear statement for the second object which is related to the opportunity.
Why can't you just go ahead and delete? You wanted to put it the value to be null. So do you want to do like
Because
update the opportunity name to null where the ID is this? Something like that?
yes,
So you
yes,
can,
I want to do that. But see, opportunity I can do it because I'll get that the where clause I can get it where ID is equals to so and so. But
and you can write an update query, right?
coming, huh?
You can do like an update the opportunity
Yes,
name to null or whatever where the ID is this.
yeah.
That's what you can do. Okay. What is the next thing?
Next one is the account object,
Okay.
which is related to that opportunity. How can I get that the particular account ID which is related to this opportunity?
So indirectly you need all the account associated with that opportunity ID.
Okay.
That's what you need, right? You need to retrieve the account object
Uh-huh.
using the opportunity ID in a query.
Yeah.
That's what you need, right?
Yes.
Is that what you want?
I'll I'll get only one, right? See, suppose it's not account. Let's make it XYZ, whatever it is. When an opportunity is inserted, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and something will be inserted in XYZ also. So when opportunity is created, and XYZ also creates some record which is linked to opportunity. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, I think
That's
I'm
what
not
I can.
explaining.
That's what you need to tell me. What do you want in a simple term?
Mm,
See, you can always see. You can do something like, I don't know if this is going to answer you, but you can always do something like select. Okay. Uh, if you want like an account ID, comma, let's say name. These are like
let's get opportunity dot account ID, right?
wait, let me say. Let me then you can do something like this. O comma account A. Okay. Where so you basically are doing a join where A dot of account ID is equals to A dot of ID. So what it is going to do here is it's going to give you this particular query. Select O dot of account. So it's going to give you account ID. You can verify the columns. Account ID, the name and the stage from the opportunity object. Okay. Where so basically it's going to give you wherever the account ID is there for that particular opportunity.
Okay.
So you are going to retrieve, so let's say there is one opportunity, and with that one opportunity, let's say with one account there are three opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically it's a one-to-many relationship. So in the account object you have one record. Okay, let me put it like so. This is the account table. Okay, and this is the opportunity table. For one account ID, let's say you have with the same account ID 111, you have three different opportunities with the same account ID. And let's say you have another one with the ID of 2, and let's say you have two different records with the same account in the opportunity. So basically it will return you these three records for this ID, and then for this one it is going to give you these two records. So it's basically going to join. This query, what it is doing, it is returning you the account ID, name, stage name, whatever this from the opportunity. So whatever the fields you need from the opportunity, and if you need any fields from the account object, you can do that as well. You can say a dot of ID. So this is a means account object, a dot of ID, comma a dot of name. So it's going to basically return you a table which has the columns from the opportunity and columns from the account object, and whichever has where the account ID is equals to a dot of ID, means where the opportunity ID is there inside of the account table. Do you need something like that? Do you want to join two tables, or what do you want to do? This is what we can do.
Uh,
And here you can say, and account name is, let's say, name is Bank of America. So it's going to give you all the opportunities where the account name is Bank of America belonging to that. And then you can go ahead and set up whatever value you want to do it for that. Is that what you need? Like you need to fetch some rows from opportunity and account. That's what you want to do, or what do you want to do?
I think I can't explain you clearly.
Okay. Okay. Send me an email and I'll see. Okay. What do you want to do? If I get okay, I'll take a look at it. But try to tell me what you want to do, like with an example. Try to explain me in a layman's term. Okay.
Yeah.
So next thing is, I wanted to do exceptions. That was the agenda for today as well. So the next thing is now we're going to talk about the data manipulation language. Okay, that is also called as the DML statements. Okay, what is called DML statements? DML statement is basically if you wanted to update, if you wanted to insert, or if you want to delete something, or if you want to undelete something. Those are the part of the DML statements. Okay, so what is the purpose of DML statements? If you wanted to go through the records in the Salesforce database and you want to update them, means you want to delete them, you want to create them, you wanted to update them, you wanted to insert them. Have you done that before, Ravitej? Have you worked with insert, update, delete, and undelete queries?
Yes.
Okay, let me just give you a quick recap, quick refresh, because Priyanka might not be aware of. So far, Priyanka, what we have done is we were only able to insert the records, right, in the Salesforce. We created an instance of the merchandise and we did an insert query, right? And then what happened was in the warehouse, we were able to insert a couple of merchandise records using the Apex, okay? Similarly, you can also kind of update the statuses, or you can update a particular field on that object using an update query. So let's just go ahead and do an insert query first. Triggers are later. Triggers is not here right now. Triggers are something else, okay? Not that one. Trigger is basically if you want to trigger something on something. Let's say I wanted to fire a rule based on if the new record gets inserted or something. The trigger is something like you want to trigger something based on some delete operation or insert operation or whatever. That's a delete. That's a trigger. But this is what I'm doing is these are DML operation, means I am kind of data manipulation language, means I'm manipulating the data using these queries. Okay, that's what data manipulation language. If you want to do manipulate something. Okay, so let's say I have a record called merchandise. Okay, __ C, M is equals to new merchandise, and the name is Deepika. Okay, price _ C is 10, or let's say quantity _ C is 50 or 70, let's say. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the insert operation, and I'm going to insert it. So what I'm doing is I'm inserting the merchandise record. So if I go ahead and execute it, what it's going to do, if I go back to my merchandise, it will add the Deepika in it. Okay, so it has added Deepika. So this is an insert operation. Let's say I wanted to update the price of Deepika to, let's say, $20. Okay, so price of Deepika, like price of the merchandise item by Deepika is going to be $20. How will I do it? So this is my update query that I'm going to return. So what I'm going to do is I will first go back here. First thing is this I've already inserted. Now first thing is I need to find the record where the name is Deepika. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say merchandise _ C, okay, is equals to give me that row. So what I'll do is select query. Okay, select ID, comma name, comma price _ C, comma quantity. All these column I'm returning. Okay, _ C from the merchandise object. Okay, where from the merchandise object, where the name is what is nothing but Deepika. So now I got that object, right? Now I got that this particular row, I retrieved that particular row. If you want to display it, you can display it here. Value of M if you just want to test it, what got returned, you can always go ahead and display this one, execute. So it gave me the pickup, price, and quantity. Now, let's say I wanted to update it now. Now what I want to do is I want to say whatever the value that I retrieved. So I'm going to go ahead and update the price _ C to, let's say, $50. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and update the M. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and update the M, and then I'm going to go ahead and display one more time after the update. Okay. So what I did first thing is I return, I'm querying the database to give me a record of merchandise where the name is Deepika. So what did it do? It went ahead and gave me the value. It went ahead and gave me this M. Okay. Next thing what I did was I displayed the value of M. Whatever the record I got, I displayed it. Then I said M dot of price _. Then I'm updating. I'm changing the value. But this point database has not changed. At this line database is still pointing to $19, which was initial. But once I do an update statement, this is to update something on in the Salesforce. Once I do that, at this time the Salesforce database got updated and the new value is the $50, and then I'm displaying the value again. So now let's go ahead and execute it. So go ahead and debug only. So now you can see the first time is the name was Deepika, price is 19, the quantity is 17. Then what I did is I changed the price to 50. That's what it returned. And if you go ahead and look at the Deepika item again, the price would have been updated to $50. So this is the update. So this is also a data manipulation. Means you're manipulating the data. Either you can manipulate the data by creating new data using an insert query, update the existing one, or delete it, and then if you want to undelete it, you can also undelete it. So this is the update query. Until or unless you write this update statement, it will not update the database. Okay, if I just say something like this, give me the name with Deepika, and if I don't do this one, it's not going to update anything. So let's say if I change 150 here, and then if I go back here and run this, at this time, database will still be saying $50 because the update query has not got executed. Update is one which is responsible for updating the Salesforce. So here, if you go 50, 150, now if you go back to the database, if you go to Deepika, the price is still $50 because you have not updated. You have not written update statement. Getting it, Priyanka? Okay, guys, you need to practice on these a lot of times. You need to go through and run these update, insert queries, try to manipulate different kinds of data, and try to return multiple rows and see how you're going to iterate through it, try to update those. You need to play around with this, okay? Because there are so many topics and I can only give you one example or maximum 2 examples in each of the topic. The next thing we have here is, so this is update. Now let's say I want to delete something. So first, what will I do? Which record I want to delete? I will fetch that record and I'll just use the delete statement. So here, so if you go ahead and I'm trying to fetch the element, okay, I'm displaying it, and then I'm saying delete that record, okay. And now once I delete it, so what I'm doing here is just delete the delete operation here. So first thing is this particular statement is returning me the record where the name is Deepika. It returned me that particular record, okay. And then I'm saying delete that record. Means in the Salesforce database itself, there will not be any record with the name Deepika in merchandise object. So if I go ahead and execute, this is the Dml statement to delete a record, okay. If I go ahead and execute this one, so just displayed it, but if you go back to the merchandise, if you click go here, there is no Deepika item anymore available here. Okay. Now, once you have deleted something, where does it go? It goes in the recycle bin. If you have deleted something, it will go in the recycle bin. So if you want to restore the records, and these in the recycle bin, it stays there for 15 days. Okay, records in the recycle bin are going to stay there for 15 days till you have not permanently deleted them. Okay, if you have not permanently deleted them, it will stay there for 15 days. If you want to restore that particular record back, okay, you can use the undelete DML statement. There is a DML statement called undelete. Okay. Now, just by saying this state, so if I go back here, if you go to this one, so if you want to undelete it, you can always just use undelete here. But the problem with undelete is, like, but you need to use, if I just go ahead and execute, you're trying to fetch the elements from with the name is Deepika, and then you're trying to undelete it. But let's see if this works. It is because what you're trying to do is you're trying to access an object from the merchandise which is not available. So you need to use here something called as all rows. Means that object is not available in the merchandise, but it is available in the recycle bin. And if you want to restore something, then you need to use all rows here in this query to retrieve that deleted object. So this is a mandatory thing you need to use called all rows. And now if you execute it, it is going to search in the all rows, means it's going to search in the recycle bin. If it found it, it will go ahead and undelete that particular record. So now if you go back to the merchandise and if you hit the go button, you see that Deepika got added again. Okay, from the recycle bin. So all rows is important if you wanted to restore an object which is there in the recycle bin. Did you get it? Okay. Any questions? This was very simple. Insert, update, delete, insert, update, delete, and undelete. So these are the 4 different queries. Insert, as the name indicates, to insert new records. Update, if you want to update anything, update a particular field. You can update multiple fields at the same time and just run one update query. If you wanted to delete something, you can do that. If you want to undelete something, you can do that. Okay, but undelete, that particular, you need to use the all rows keyword along with it. Now the same things you can use, these are called as the DML operations that we have done. The DML means database manipulation language. You can do the same thing with the database class which is there provided to you by Salesforce. So what is the difference between these two? You can use the same, you can use undelete, delete, etc. from the database class. Have you used that before, Ravitej?
Oh, which one?
The database DML methods. Like you use the database.insert. Instead of saying insert that particular object, you say database.of_insert. Have you done that? Okay, so might be something new for you. So see, there are different ways of inserting the records. One we have seen using the DML query, right? Which says just use the insert query. Then there is something called as the database class. This particular database class has different methods. Okay, and I'll tell you which one to use when in a minute. So this database class has different methods, and this database class you don't have to write. Salesforce has already written it for you. Okay, and in the database class it has bunch of methods, like insert method if you want to insert something. Okay, if you want to delete something, there is a method called database.delete. If you wanted to update something, there is a method to update something. If you wanted to undelete something, there is a method called undelete as well. Okay, now you can perform these DML operations by basically calling these methods from the database class. Now, what is the purpose of using, first let's see how we can use that. And let's go back here and you say execute the window. Here you can say merchandise _ C M1 is equals to new of merchandise _ C, and you can say name is equals to Pranka, comma price _ 16, and then quantity. Is he not joining, Abhinav?
No.
and then you have something. Huh?
Yeah, he's in.
He's there? Abhinav, are you able to? Okay, so you're here. Okay. I thought you're not here, so I was. Are you able to follow? Trying to? Ravi, you need to help them.
Yeah, sure.
So now we're going to go ahead and using this particular statement. So the only difference using the insert from the DML and using the database insert, see, let's say you are doing a bulk operation. Bulk means you are uploading hundreds or thousands of records at a time. Okay, and if you're using the insert statement, what happens is if let's say one of that record is at fault, or it's the wrong information you are putting, or you're not giving the exact required fields, then what will happen is the whole operation is going to stop right away. Even if out of those 1,000 record, if one of the record was corrupted, if you're using the DML insert, then what will happen is it will halt all the insertion. But if you're using a database insert, what will happen is you can set up some parameters in the database insert which will ensure that, let's say, if out of those thousands, if one of the record was corrupted, it will not halt everything. It will not stop the rest of the records to get inserted. It will make sure that 999 records got successfully inserted, and whichever was unsuccessful, you can reinsert it again. That is the difference between the database insert operation and the DML insert operations. Okay, so in the both of them, when you're trying to do a bulk statements, so in the case of if there is partial success, the whole of the operation is going to be false. And if you want to avoid that, then you want to do, if you want to make sure that, okay, if there is unsuccessful, let it be and then run the rest of it, then you're going to use the database insert. Are you getting it? That's the difference between using the DML insert and the database insert. In the database insert, if one is at fault, the remaining will still be continued and will be inserted successfully. But if it's the DML insert, all of the thing is going to stop right away if one of the record you're trying to insert is not correct. Okay? So depending upon what do you want, you can, if you wanted to put everything together, then you can use the DML insert. If you're okay with some being not inserted and rest of being inserted, you can use the database insert. Okay. So here, let's say I'm creating two different merchandise record, one with the name of Priyanka and then another with the name of the Abhinav. The quantity is 116, 20 and 120 and 116. Now how to use it? You're going to use it by using something like this. Database dot of save result is equals to database dot insert. Okay, and then you can say something like new of merchandise elements array, and what you are trying to insert, these to m1 comma m2. Okay, and then there is a parameter it needs called false. So this particular database.insert takes two parameters. One is which all elements you want to insert, and the second one is a Boolean value. Basically, this is the parameter. You can set it for something called as opt all or none. Okay, so what you're telling here is, if this is false, means if one of the record is at fault, it will still let you continue and you can still go ahead and insert the other one. Okay, but if you set it to true, means if one of the record is at fault, then don't go ahead and stop it right away. Okay, so if this value is set to false and one of the record fails, then the remainder of the DML operation will still be able to succeed. Okay, and now this particular whatever this database insert is going to return you the list of all the records that got inserted successfully. Okay, and basically it's going to give you the list, and if you wanted to go ahead and display it, you can just go ahead and use the for loop to display the elements. So I'll say for database save result, whatever the result I got it, SR with this LSR, right? This is basically iterating through the elements that got inserted, and it's going to give you the list of those elements that successfully got inserted. If the element is not inserted, okay, if that element is not a success, you can test it, and then what you can do it, you can basically display the error if there is an error. And there can be multiple errors. If you just want the first element or the first row in the error, you can just get it. Okay, so this is what the opt. So remember guys, opt all or none. This Boolean value is for opt all or none. If it is false, basically is to avoid getting an expression where the DML fails and it will still continue with the rest of the operations. And if it's, so this is the database insert method. So it's the same thing. It's also going to insert those two records into the Salesforce. Instead of using insert DML, we are using a database insert, and what we are doing is we created two different objects, okay, with these values, and then we are using the database insert operation, and we are passing those, whatever the number, you can pass n number of records. If you have another one, you're going to pass it, and then this false means if one of the record fails, the rest will still continue. If there is an error, okay, if one of the record is unsuccessful, if you wanted to store the error, you can go ahead and display the error as well. Okay, so now if I go ahead and execute it, where is it? Database save result. Oh, here. This one. So now if you go back here to your database, Salesforce, you will see the records, Abhinav and Priyanka, and these are the different values, 116 and 120, and that will be 16 and 20. The Priyankas will be 16 and 20. Okay, so the only difference was if one of the record is failed, it will continue and the rest will go. Okay, so now let's see what happens here. So guys, did you know what happened just now? See, one of this record was at fault, but it did not give you anything. It didn't give you any operation or any effect. It still continued with it, but it did not create that record. See here, what I did was, just to explain you, what I did was, I'm trying to create, let's say I'm going to create 3 different names. Okay, you cannot, see, when you're trying to create an object, you need to provide the required values. Remember I told you that? See, in the merchandise, price is a required statement. If you don't provide the price, then it is going to give you a DML operation. You probably saw that earlier when we were trying to do it. So let me show you. If I just go ahead and do something like this. Okay, and if I use the insert DML, and if I say insert M3, okay, and if I just execute this portion, it's going to give me an exception. Execute the highlighted. It's going to say first exception, a required field missing. So this field is missing, price, quantity. These are required fields, and both these fields are missing. That's why I'm giving you an exception. Are you getting it? So this is not a valid statement. It needed the price and quantity as well along with it. Now if I get rid of this, and so that was a DML insert. Now I'm using a database insert. And what I'm doing here is, instead of Priyanka, let's say I put Anika, Tara, Nana. Okay, these are the records I'm trying to insert, and this record is not a valid one because they are not providing the price and quantity, which is a required field in this record, and I'm trying to insert it, but it's not going to fail because I'm using a database insert. I'm not using a DML insert, I'm using a database insert. Everything is going to be successful, okay, but that record will not get executed. So if you wanted to do here, and if you wanted to go ahead and say, and it only inserted Tara and Anika, it did not insert Nana because Nana was the one at the fault. Okay, so here, if I go back here, and if this was the one which is at fault, that's why it didn't got executed. And if you want to display the error, guys, you can always go ahead and display this system.debug and that value of the error. The error is plus ERR, and let me just go ahead and change Anika 1, Tara 1, and Nana 1. Okay, and let's go ahead and execute it. It gave you that there is an error. Okay, there is an error and the field is missing, but it did not stop your code from running. Okay, that is what the database insert is going to do. So if you go back here, see Tara 1, Anika 1 got inserted successfully, Nana 1 didn't got inserted. Okay, are you getting it?
Yes.
Got it? Good. So this is what the database insert and DML insert, and rest everything is very similar. So now if I wanted to go ahead, if let's say I want to delete something, so how I'm going to go ahead and delete it, I'm just going to use the same exact thing. So let's say, get rid of this, merchandise underscore C is equals to M1 is equals to, I'm going to go ahead and use the select statement, select ID, comma name from merchandise underscore C, where the name is equals to Anika 1, okay, where the name is equals to Anika 1, and then I wanted to go ahead and delete it. So there is a record with Anika 1, right? So if I go back here, there is this Anika 1 here. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So this is going to be, so I'm going to use the database. So this is going to give me database.delete. So there's a save result, there's a delete result, okay, and that's going to be how many records got deleted. Let's say there are multiple of those, and then I'm going to say database dot of delete, and then you provide which record you're talking about. M1, that's the record, and if something fails, let's continue. Okay, false, and then you're going to go ahead, you can just say this is going to delete everything. If you want to display the error, you can just go ahead and display it. If I don't want to display, let's just continue here. So now if you go back here, there is no Anika 1. Okay, that got deleted because that is the way, this is the way to do it. So you want to delete something, you can do it by database.delete result, dr is equals to this one. Okay, this is if you want to delete something. Now similarly, if you have deleted something and now you want to undelete it, you can do that as well. So only thing that will change will be, you're going to put all rows here because it has to look in the recycle bin, right? So all rows here, and then instead of this one, you're going to say undelete here, and then instead of the database delete results, it's going to be the undelete results. Okay, it's going to be the undelete result. So now if I go back here, now what's going to do, it's basically going to go ahead and give me back my Anika 1. So now Anika 1 has been restored. So this is, you can choose whichever you want based on your stuff. Like if you wanted to use the bulk operation and one fails, you still want to continue, use the other one. That's the major difference. And a lot of time this question gets asked in the interview as well. So try to remember that. Okay. Tomorrow, guys, we're going to go ahead. I wanted to do exceptions today, but that's fine. It took some time. But I hope everything is crystal clear. And tomorrow we're going to go ahead and talk about exception, which is also an important topic. Try catch and finally block and everything. And I'll try to wrap up the exceptions tomorrow. And then what probably we're going to have some triggers. Okay? So that's going to be the triggers and everything. Any questions so far?
No, we are good.
You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. What about Priyanka and Abhinav? Okay, you guys don't have the last class recording, right? And today's class.
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to put it. And I'll see you tomorrow at the same time, 11 o'clock.
And Deepika, the last time you told me about the parameters, right?
Yeah. Did that work?
That didn't work.
Oh, that
I
didn't
tried
work?
it. Yeah, I tried it in other way, so it worked. I
What?
just tried output
What did you do?
output link.
So, output link.
Yeah, I can show you.
Let me see. I can just figure it out from here. So you pass that output link and you pass the parameter along with that, right?
Not exactly the parameter.
Like something like this?
Yes, like I gave exactly.
Right?
The
Okay.
value. Here I gave like slash and what do we call whatever the page is and the question mark ID and then whatever I need to pass the
Okay.
opportunity ID.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you were able
Okay.
to do it. Yeah, and you know what I do? I just Google my stuff most of the time. That's what I do.
Yeah.
They right now they gave me this Angular stuff to work on, and I've never done Angular in my life, and I'm kind of read it, and it's so crazy. But yeah, it's all Google. It's as long as Google is there, we have jobs.
That's true.
That's what I will say. Because it's so much. It's not every day there's something coming up. You can't keep up with everything. So yeah. Okay then, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Then
Okay,
and we'll do exceptions tomorrow. Okay, guys. Thank you so much.